this webinar. MaxAssist is TRM's most recent software add-on to IBM Maximo. It's an integrated training and tutorial for new and casual Maximo users. Some of the benefits of MaxAssist include increasing the pace at which your users will use and adopt Maximo, dramatically reducing your training costs. It enables more and accurate complete data entry. It eases the change management process for adopting Maximo as a new system, or when you upgrade your Maximo system or make large configuration changes. You can onboard new users quickly and give your casual users a handy reminder. You can also customize your training by Maximo application, user, group, and/or organizations. And of course, you can turn on MaxAssist on and off very easily. Today, our presenter, Jordan Ortiz, will show you how users would experience MaxAssist and also show you how to create your page guides, to-dos, and tooltips. This is going to be a fast webinar, just half an hour. So if you have questions, please use your question feature on your webinar panel, and we'll answer during the presentation. We will also have a Q&A at the end. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to you, Jordan.
Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me and everything. I'm about to share my screen so that we can go over the product. One thing I want to mention really fast, there is a slight chance that my video card is going to burn out on me. If that's the case, you're going to see me run over to another computer and continue with the webinar. So just a heads up about that. It probably won't happen, but just want to put that out there just in case. So yeah, as Liz mentioned, MaxAssist is here to kind of help users with regards to training, with regards to kind of their day-to-day, or to help them with processes that they don't do that often, stuff that they can forget pretty easily. So one of the things I'm going to show you, I'm going to start off showing you a page guide. And I got the idea for the page guide from this giant book I have in front of me, which obviously you can't see, but looking at it here, it's our implementation guide, and it's filled with 400 pages of how to do this and how to do that and how to do that. And one of the things I was thinking that would work really well in a training scenario and in a kind of a use that someone would use day to day or once a month when they need to add a user is the process of creating a user. So I'm going to show a page guide on how to do that. And then what I'll do after it is show you how to create a page guide. So opening a page guide is pretty easy. You just click Select Action, and under MaxAssist, you choose the option. In our case, our scenario, we're creating a page guide called Create a User. So I'll click that, and what you'll see is this list pops up. This is my to-do list. This is all the steps in that big fat training guide I was talking about, describing the processes of creating, or the process of creating a user inside of Maximo. Additionally, we have tooltips and stuff associated with our page guide to really help inform the user on how to use the system. So I mentioned that you open it through the Select Action menu. You can also set a page guide to default for specific users, and I'll demonstrate that later. And when that is enabled, the page guide will automatically show up when the user appears in that application. So first thing I'm going to do is follow my to-do list here. You can see the list is movable. I can even minimize it, and it shows it down on the bottom left here, and I click it to reopen it. So I'm going to click the first item and hover over it, and you see the first step of creating a user is pressing the Insert button. Most Maximo users will know that, but again, for new users, you want to get them familiar with this. So I'm going to do that. When I click on the item, it actually puts focus on the control up there. So if I just hit the Enter button, it will actually perform the action. Similarly, as I move my mouse over the next step here, it's set the user field. Put the little tooltip, as you can see on the left, on the field to really help notify the user as to where the field is that they're about to populate. And actually in this one, I've created a tooltip on this field that really kind of describes the steps. So this field is obviously the identifier of the user, but here's some notes on that that says, if the user matches that of an existing person record, the person will be populated. Otherwise, you'll be prompted to create a person. So if I create a value here, let's do blah, blah, blah. Oops. Oh, I better not use that. That was one I used before. How about Todd, blah, blah. So here's the prompt that I was mentioning. The person does not exist. Do you want to create a new person? Press yes. Now you can see these steps now crossed off, the set the user field and the set the person value, because those have been set on my system. As I continue to move through my list here, I click on select the first name, and it puts focus on the control, and I could just type right into it, Todd. Same thing, if I do set the last name, put focus on it, and I type it on there. Just like before, same with supervisor. There's a tooltip on this one to really kind of inform the user with some information. The new user's supervisor, and then it's going to show me how to, or explain to me how to set the value. Use the value list to select the supervisor. So I'll choose something, and my value is set. I'll type in an email address. Again, clicking on it puts focus on the field so I don't have to do anything. Oops. Fake email address there. The next step is set the default site. So again, I click on it, it puts control. I have some information on it that describes what the field is for and how to use it. Use the value list to select their site. It's all really simple to do and really intuitive. So users, you know, I'm learning what this value means or what this field means and how to populate it in Maximo. Additionally, I'm getting nice feedback over here of all my steps being marked as completed. As you see, we even work on buttons and tabs. So this next step, it puts the tooltip over the button, puts focus on it so I can set the password. I open up the dialog, and I'll do just that. I'll set the password, and I'm not going to email or change, and I'll hit OK. That step marks as completed. So notice the Groups tab at the top. When I hover over this, it puts focus on it. So this is where I need to go next. I click on it, and I hit the Enter button, and it puts me on the tab and marks the step as completed. Same for here. Now, this is a scenario that actually works in a production environment in addition to a training environment. I've made this task optional in the vein that you can mark it as completed when you're done. So if I click on this and open my dialog, I can choose some values. So I'll choose a couple, press OK. In this case, the step doesn't mark as completed because this is kind of like an optional step or something that is at the whim of the user. It's like they might just need to be in the default groups. You might need to just continue adding groups. But in the end, you can mark it as completed to know that you've completed it. And then I have my last step here. Press Save. And again, we work with icons at the top. Click on it, press Enter, and press Enter. And, oh, my password entries do not match. So I need to go back and fix some data. Do this appropriately now. Sorry about that. Okay, let's hope they actually work now. There we go, and my record has been saved. So as you see, this list really provides some feedback. Even when I make mistakes, I still know I haven't completed my task until it's all done. So that in a really superficial nature is the core simple beginnings of MaxAssist, like the functionality of the to-do list and the added simplicity of putting tooltips on a field to really explain what the field is and how to use it in Maximo. So let me go ahead and show you how to create one of these. This is the nice part, and the one I'm going to create is on the SR application. So if I actually log in as our new user, provided I spell my password right. Nope. When I go to an app like the service request app, and I press Enter to create a new value, there's a lot of fields on this screen, and you kind of want some guidance on how to fill this screen in. So this is a perfect practical application to put a page guide on. So let me just sign out of here, and we're going to go to Eclipse, which is bundled here, is something that comes with MaxAssist. We provide you this engine that allows you to connect through Eclipse to create and develop page guides. So I've already made a connection, but I'll go ahead and disconnect and show you from the beginning here. So I'm going to make a connection just like I would to the front end in Maximo. I log in with a username and a password to the same URL that you do in the front end. Localhost 84 Maximo. I'm going to use Wilson, and press OK. And now I'm connected to my server, and that's the actual page guide I have created already on my system, the one we used prior to this. But let's go ahead and create a new one in a different application. So to do that, you click on your connection, and on the top you have an option to configure a new page guide. You can also do it by right-clicking on the connection and choosing to configure a new page guide. From there, you get a dialog that says, which application do you want to use? I'll go ahead and type SR and select it and give it a name. How about create an SR? I should lowercase the a for appropriate English. And what it's doing now is we are reaching out to the server to get your screens. So we want to get the screens, any customizations you've added, any fields you've created, things like that, because we want our editor here, which is what we're looking at now, to represent exactly what you see on the screen in Maximo. So let's go ahead and start filling out our steps and putting some tooltips on this page guide. First thing, always in the process of creation of an SR, is we're going to press Insert. So I simply just right-click on the Insert icon and choose to add a new to-do item. The next thing that happens is this dialog appears. This dialog has some information on the sort of data that's required for this. So in this case, our order is 1, our @family is SR. This type is an action. An action type is something that you actually do in Maximo. Like you click a button, you click a tab, you click an icon at the top. And the action value is insert. So we already pre-fill all this stuff for you, so you don't have to do anything. So I'm just going to give it a description. Insert button, and press OK. Now it's kind of hard to notice, but I put a little blue dot on there that symbolizes the fact that there is a to-do item on that icon, and if I right-click on it again, I have the option to remove it or to modify it. So the next thing you're going to do when you're creating a service request is probably populate the reported by field. So I'm going to add a new to-do item here, and in this case, again, the @family is SR, but this time the type is an attribute, which is an attribute in the system. So, and the value of that is reported by ID. Again, we pre-populate all this for you, so you don't have to do any of it. All you have to do is, in this case, just give it a description. I'll talk about the condition later on. This is the control that's associated with that value in Maximo, and then some other flags that are more for kind of advanced page guides. So I'm going to say set the reported by field, and I'll press OK. And again, a little blue dot there letting me know that that's existed. I'll go ahead and add a tooltip to this affected person column. Similarly, to the same way, I right-click on the field, and I have two options here, and I choose to add a tooltip. Tooltip dialog looks just like this. You have the tooltip part, which is the main text that appears, and then the details is what shows up when you hover over the tooltip. So I'll say, this is the person who has the issue. Something simple like that, and we don't need details, so I'll just press OK. And in this case, the dot is orange, symbolizing that there is a tooltip on this field. I'll continue to populate my fields. Let's set reported priority as a to-do item. Again, this is an attribute, so set the reported priority. I'll press OK. I'll put a tooltip here, add the tooltip, same way. I'll say our priority. And then this takes HTML, and we're actually working on advancing the editor as we speak. But for right now, I'll put something in saying 1 is high, 2 medium, 3 plus, is low. Low. Go ahead and hit OK, and again, an orange dot appears. Now the next step is probably to fill in the summary. So I'll add a to-do item. Again, it's an attribute, and set the description, set the summary. Press OK. Next, probably fill in the details. Set the details. Press OK. Let's go ahead and set the asset to it, the to-do item. Again, it's an asset, or it's an attribute type with the field being asset num. Press OK, and again, the blue dot appears. Let's go ahead and do this one, just in case it doesn't auto-populate, which it should when you fill in the asset. Set the asset site. Okay, so pretty simple page guide here. We're walking you through that, but let's go ahead and add some more features to it. Let's do let's take ownership of this record. So if I right-click on the icon, I add a new to-do item, and this time it's an action. Like I said, any button is an action, and the type is ownership. Again, we automatically populate this stuff for you. Now, in this case, we're going to put a condition on here because the ownership action, like with MaxAssist, we can't always predict the action that's going to take place here. So we're going to go ahead and put a condition that says if the sr.owner equals maximo.username. So what this means is this task will mark completed when the owner field, that owner field in the top middle there, is the same thing as I'm logged in as, my Maximo username. And that's what the take ownership action does. So I'll press OK. And again, it puts a little blue dot up there. We'll mark as next step as to save to the record. Again, it's an action. Press save. And then save, hit OK. This is all pretty simple and really easy to do. And as I'm talking through it, it's taking me longer than it would if I would just be doing it on my own through the front end. Next, let's create a work order based off of this guy. So you have the ability to also capture select action. So you do that simply by right-clicking on the down arrow next to select action and choosing to add a new to-do item. So our select action, and we go ahead and pull the list for you. So in this case, we want to capture creating a work order. Our description will be create a work order. Pretty simple, a related work order. How about that? I'm going to uncheck the manual toggle because we have a condition for this. There's a relationship that exists that says if, what was my relationship? sr.work order of 0. So if this exists, that means I've created a related work order. So my relationship to work order is from SR is called work order. And so as long as there's a value, then my action will mark as completed. So I'll go ahead and press OK. And again, if I right-click on here, I have the ability to modify that to-do item or add a new one. And let's go ahead and add one more. Let's approve, or let's change the status. So find here, there it is, change status. And again, the type of this one is select action because that's what we're doing. We're running a select action. To INPROG. And again, let's use some of that, or use a condition here just to make this a little fancier. So I'll set sr.status. So when the status equals, this task will be marked as completed. So when the status is in prog, not INPRG like it is in work order, the status will be marked as completed. And again, I'm going to uncheck the manual toggle because I have a condition that will automatically set it for me. So I'm going to press OK. And now all I have to do is save my record. You can tell it's dirty by the little asterisk here. And it's saved. And then the next thing I do, all I have to do to load it to the server is to commit my files and tell the server to refresh. So I've committed my files. The little blue asterisk went away. Now I'm going to reload the files to the server. Now, one of the things we said we wanted to do was I said we were going to do is default the page guide for either certain users or certain groups. But let's go ahead and use groups. So to do that, you expand the defaults underneath the new page guide we created. And on default groups, you just right-click and choose a default group to do this with. So I'll say, what was one of them that I used? And let's select that. So anyone in this group, the page guide will automatically open for. So now let me go ahead and commit that change, and then I'll demonstrate it for everyone. So it's also really easy to test page guides. You can do it right here and in Eclipse. You simply right-click on your connection and say open with Internet Browser, or you can do it on an app too. So open with Internet Browser. So it's going to log me in with the user I logged in before. So I'm actually logged in as Wilson. So Wilson, in this case, I don't believe he's part of that SD-MGR group. I probably should have checked that before the webinar. He is not, because my list did not automatically appear, but I still have the ability to do this. So there's my list now. Before I test it, let's sign out, and let's log in as that user I created. Now, when I log in, since I set the default, my list should automatically open, as it did here. So you can really help users out, users that are barely in the system, by giving them the default, telling them, here's how you do your main task every day. And if they don't need it, they can close it, they can minimize it, and then later on they can disable the default functionality altogether. So let's go ahead and walk through the page guide now that we've created it. Just like we did before, we press the insert button, and it puts focus on it. So all I have to do is press enter, and there it marks my task as completed. I'll walk through these really fast just because we've seen them before until we get to some of the types we hadn't done. Set the reported by field. I put a tooltip here, so there's my tooltip. Set the priority. Again, when I click on it, it puts focus on it and takes me to it. Here's my advanced tooltip with my line breaks and things like that. You can see Wilson has a default site, so that's why the set asset site field already marked as completed. Set the summary to summary. I'll set the details to details. I'll set the asset, it's already selected, to 12300. So all these fields. Now here's the type that we didn't necessarily go over before, take ownership, because we put that condition on there. So here's my owner field. I'll click on this, it puts focus on it, press enter. It took ownership because the user I'm logged in as, Todd Labla, is the owner that I set the value to. So my condition is true, and then when you set ownership, it automatically saves the record, so that marked off as completed also. Same thing. Next would be select action, create work order. So when I do that, I hover over it, and there's my action. And I actually click on it, it will actually open it up. So you can see at the top, work order 1229 created. If I go to the related records tab, I can actually see it there. My last step here is press select action and set the status to in prog. Again, I move my mouse over, it takes me right to the action, showing me where it is, teaching me where it is if you're in the training realm, and I'm going to set it to in prog, which is in progress, and press OK. And there, my status is set. So we have gone over, in that time, in this half an hour, walking through 2 page guides, defaulting a page guide, and most importantly, creating a fairly advanced page guide or a page guide that involves many types of tasks in a matter of minutes. So that really encompasses how easy the product is to use. Committing the files to the server is just simply as easy as clicking buttons, and testing is as easy as using Maximo. Developing, again, is also as easy as pointing and clicking. It's all really simple, easy functionality that any user who's familiar with Maximo can develop, create, and then in the end, your organization gets the benefits of all the functionality and all the ease of data entry and things like that. That covers it all for me, Liz. So I'm ready to take some questions if there are any.
That was excellent. We had quite a lively Q&A session in the background going on. So while I look for hands up for anyone that has a question here, can you just show everyone how users can turn it on and off?
Oh, sure. So to disable one, an easy thing to do is just simply disable it. Then I commit my change to the server. And so I was logged in as, once my commit goes through, I was logged in as Loblaw before, or Todd Loblaw. So if I go to service request, you'll see it didn't pop up. If I select action, it's not in the list.
Excellent. Super easy. So for the folks that are still in our audience, if anyone has a question, if you could just use the raise your hand symbol on your webinar panel, and I'll open up your line and ask you to ask your question. John, I see you have a question. I'm going to go ahead and open up your line so that you can ask directly. Bear with me. And while we're doing that, we're getting what programming language is being used for the condition fields?
JavaScript. And one of our very soon enhancements is that we'll give even better completion with that. So it'll even reduce the development time from 8 seconds to 6 seconds.
Excellent. It looks like Norman has a question too. So Norman, your line is open.
Yeah, it seems like this can help with the ability, and it almost seems like they, in some cases, may need to have some training before they get to this to help explain not only what they need to do, but why the organization wants them to do that. Does this type of technology or a presentation of information, do you have anything that kind of addresses why we're doing it to really impact the behavior on the front end and sustain the behavior, the desired behavior, ongoing?
You mean as an overall kind of what Maximo Assist can help an organization for? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean specifically why do I set the internal priority field to 2?
Well, why the user needs to change their behavior. This tells them what they need to do, but at some point we either have to sit down and have a conversation about why and how important it is and how it's going to impact their job and the organization. And I didn't see any of that part here, which would mean we would still need to have some face-to-face discussion time, even if we were going to use this product to control how they need to do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So trying to get people, to buy into any system is obviously you have to have some explanation to do so. You need to give them a reason why you want to do it like this. And we can document some of the benefits of it to make sure your data goes in right, to go this and that. And a lot of those types of answers are also organization specific. Like, you need to create an SR, things like that. So what we have the ability to do, which I didn't present here, is we can always bring up a kind of a welcome guide when you go to create an SR. The dialogue could get annoying, which is why we never really show it. But whenever you open that page guide, you bring up a dialogue that says, you are going to create an SR. Here is why you need to do it, or here are the steps you're going to do and why we're doing it like this. So you have the ability to bring up a little dialogue to inform users of that functionality. It's actually something we thought no one would want because it got distracting every time they do select action.
Oh,
and
so it pops up every time?
Yeah, and and that could be a really easy enhancement that we could try to do that says maybe once while they are logged in. So every time they log in, it'll open once, or there's some configuration stuff that we could do that development-wise would take us, not to pat myself on the back, but it would take us like 2 hours and then we could have that ready for any organization in a release in probably a day and a half. If that functionality is something that you would want and a lot of organizations would want, we could put it in really easily.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the question.
So we have one of my favorite questions. How much does this cost? Since we just released this product, we have some great introductory pricing. And when I send a follow-up email, and there it is. Thank you, Jordan.
No problem.
We'll send a link to this page, and everyone can see the pricing there. If you're so willing to, you could just buy it straight online if you'd like to.
I was trying to, this is an interjection. If we don't have any questions, I'll throw it in. I was trying to calculate, I was trying to see for an organization, maybe 99 to 249 users, let's say 2 hours of training time for 50 people at $35 an hour is far greater than this amount for MaxAssist for 2 years. So, and that's a permanent thing that's inside your system, and you can create those for multiple processes because training in Maximo certainly takes more than 2 hours. So with regards to the value, this introductory pricing is good. And I'm not a salesperson. I felt like I just sold there. I'm just a developer. I don't get commissions or anything on this. I just want you guys to use it.
Perfect segue. Jordan, do you want to take a couple more? They're coming in fast and furious.
Yeah, I know we're about at the end of our time, but I certainly don't mind taking questions and talking people through scenarios or things like that.
So here's one. We've seen how the developer can disable a tooltip or the to-do list. How does the end user silence or opt out on their own?
So the easiest way would be for an end user to turn it off right now is you probably ask your administrator to not have you in a default system or to not have a default one for you, because there's no harm having, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong application. There's no harm having it here. It's not going to do anything. So under your select action guide, having it there doesn't mean anything. I could create stuff and my list doesn't appear, and then you're entering data as normal. So the easiest thing they could do is not run it. So to permanently turn off a default, right now we haven't done that on the user side because in order to do that would mean we need to write to your database, and we've been doing our best to try to avoid doing that because we don't want to add in new tables to your system. We want your system to stand exactly as it was before you installed MaxAssist, and we just put some files that live on your web server, and everything is there.
Excellent. Ooh, these questions are coming in fast, Jordan, so hang on a little bit. They're all text too, so I'm splitting them up between you and Al.
Okay.
How do you transfer a guide from the development system to the production system?
Oh, there's a few ways to do that. One of the easiest ways is you can actually simply just copy the files. All these guides live in a file system, so they all live in these XML files. Sorry, hopefully that window popped up. So you would just simply copy these files to your server, if it's in production mode, and restart your server. You don't have to rebuild or redeploy your year and do it. We also have a way, if I just created a guide, you can import a page guide. So if you have one that you've created, I don't want to import one that already exists, but you have the ability to create one from one system. If you have the XML file, you just right-click and choose import, and you can bring it into a new environment. I could demo that, but I don't know if any of my coworkers' machines are up. I'll have to ask. I'll try to find that via IM while we're answering other questions.
And so because there are so many questions, I think the rest of them, for the most part, we're going to answer in writing, and we'll send this out with the follow-up so everyone can see all the questions and answers. Okay. A nice sort of segue out, I wanted to point out a couple of things. One, MaxAssist was created as a feature of TRM Rules Manager when we first started with this. So all current TRM Rules Manager customers already have MaxAssist as part of their Rules Manager Studio suite. If you end up buying MaxAssist and wanting the full suite of capabilities, we would then apply your license price to that full suite of Rules Manager capabilities. Also, as we leave this webinar, we've got a quick 5-question survey that we hope everyone takes the time to provide us a little feedback. And we want to thank you. My follow-up will include links to our website, contact information, and again, all of these questions with written answers so that you guys can peruse. We also will have a recording of this webinar so you can go back and revisit or share with your colleagues. With that, I want to thank everyone. Thank you especially, Jordan. And we hope
no problem.
TRM webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.